Okay, so I'm going to ask you, if you haven't already, to mute your microphones so that we can only see the person who is speaking, who should be Kate. And Kate, you can unmute yourself. Okay. And there we are. Okay. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Kate. We're really very, very happy indeed to have you with us. And we're looking forward to a wonderful afternoon for us. Morning for you, but afternoon for us. So off you go. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Robin. So this is a beautiful moment where we're settling in. People are also still coming into the waiting room and from the waiting room. And I think that we will have people popping in as they do. We'll just trust that they hear what they need to hear of the introduction. But we ourselves needn't be concerned with people popping in, even as we've already begun. Life is life and things are going on, even as we're trying to be very present and settled. So good practice in that. It's really great to see some of your faces. Some of you I know well, or peripherally. Some of you are even in New Orleans. Hi, Ellen. Great. And the contingent of this life's work from around the world. So I'm going to start us off how in the most logical place of all, which is to arrive. And I like to do so in a little bit of a layered way, because to arrive is what's happening right now. We're getting settled into our deeper awarenesses. We're gathering ourselves down into one central place of listening. So much of what I'll just go right ahead and say is an illness of our time, is that we are in so many places at once, and we are not really present in the only place that it really matters, the heart and the gut and the root and the unfolding of the body in the present moment, which is where our life is actually alive. So we are present in all kinds of different places, and it is fragmented and unsatisfying in some way. So that's sort of a big deal, and it is happening all over the place, and the world almost demands it of us. So we say a great big no thank you to that right now as we practice the revolutionary act of becoming more fully present in our body, in this Zoom room, and having our thoughts be gathered. So I like to imagine this gathering of the tendrils of thought, like not in a harsh way, like in any kind of harsh way at all, actually, but just a really gradual, delicate way of pulling all of the tendrils of thought that have gone elsewhere into the past, into the future, in a spinning wheel type frenetic energy down into the body, into the vast land of the body where we can ground it. Our spinning thoughts are not grounded, but we can ground them and gather them into the living trunk of the body, like a beautiful bouquet. Feeling the physical sensation of presence in the body that's like a ripple going out from our center place. Somewhere in the deep pelvic well of the body, or the under the belly button area, is a still point that we can root to. Oh, the relief of opening up and relaxing the whole rest of the self to be present to the great space within. This is the oasis of our centered place. We don't have to solve the complicated scenario at play in all of our thoughts in order to step away from the thoughts. We don't have to solve the dilemma in order to feel a sense of peace. We can walk away down into the wilderness of the body to feel more present. I like to remember the physical organization of the human being in this great task, this brave task of becoming present. And the organization I like to think of is this. We have a singular piece of the great big information in the space of the head. We can open up our own mind to connect to the great grandfather energy of the sky. We are a relative of the sky. It is the nature of the upper body to lift and rise, allowing the space of the head to connect to that parent, grandparent, great grandparent energy that is more vast and that holds our consciousness wide open. And then we have the body that is deeply connected to the head. We hope that's our goal. There's a big, vast, deep, direct connection. But we relax the body down into the ever present, unconditionally holding us of the earth, non metaphorically. We are not speaking in some poetic idea. But right now, physically and throughout our entire life, the being of the earth, larger than we can fathom, is holding the entire weight of our body forever until we die. And even when we die, we return to the earth to participate in the holding of all beings. This is amazing. And it is our state, the organization of the human being to lift and rise. We have the presence of expansiveness in the sky and the great big beautiful earth holding our body all the time. And yet we feel unheld and unfree. So something is happening. Something is happening. So when we come down to that wilderness of the body where our senses are alive, we become liberated from the typical prison of our modern day, which is that we are isolated. I think, therefore I am. The Cartesian split started to define the human beings by the intelligence that they could think. It's binary, it's limited. It's generated from the part of the brain that is getting us to maintain a status quo and then to survive. And to protect itself and its individuality. That's the ego. We don't make the ego wrong or bad, but please let us not let it drive the ship for all time. Please let it be a servant, not a master, to the wellness of our entire being. All right, this is a little departure, but I love this because it helps us keep the ego in a more helpful and healthful position. So we'll take this fun detour, which is in the evolving human being's body. The very most recent thing to evolve is some of the dynamics and functioning capacity of the neocortex. So we don't have to even believe in evolution to think about our thinking brain, where we spend most of our waking hours, our awareness is in our thoughts, as the youngest part of the evolving human being. And yet we give all agency to this thinking brain, and we all, do we neglect and ignore the deeper wisdom of the body that speaks a different language, the language of sensation? Boy, do we ignore that so much. So we have given the ego all of the authority, and it is unrooted and supported by the much older intelligence of the heart. The heart can hold paradox where the mind cannot. The mind says, wait, but this, and then but this, and I can't put it together. If this is true, how can this be true? The delineation of things, this must be puzzled together, all these individual pieces, and it must make sense to a categorical mind. The heart says, no, baby, no. It is all true. All of it is true. We hold nothing back and say, no, nothing is wrong or bad or untruthful in the world that we know. The heart can hold it all, and the mind can just collapse into the richness and wealth of that. When we can bring our awareness down into the heart, and the mind, poor baby, can be supported and helped. So I like this tree meditation because here's the leaves and branches up in the brilliance of our mind. When the brilliance of our mind is rooted down into the wealth of the root system of the heart, and the heart is connected through its own field to all the other beings that are around us. So we have this invisible yet deeply innate and true connection to living beings in our hearts and mind, in this invisible intelligence around us. Beautiful, beautiful. So this is part of what our healing creativity stuff might involve. Balancing out the mind and the heart and the rest of the body. So the mind is humble, able to learn. The mind is relaxed. We know this to be neuroplasticity and openness in the mind so that it can learn and new neural pathways can form that are more updated and not just the old, limited crap that we pound into ourselves as a form of self-punishment. When we're not thriving and we don't know why, we blame the self. You're wrong, you're wrong. And we have a bully inside. And that does not promote creativity. Indeed, it does not promote creativity. It promotes something else. We know what that is, but we don't need to go all the way into it. So when we arrive and we take the time to arrive more fully, dialing all the way in to our deeper sensations and the reality of our wholeness, our thriving, the beauty and intelligence of our fully operating body, we are connected more authentically, more directly to our innate source of creativity, which is to see the world with the wide-eyed wonder of someone who hasn't closed so many layers of their eyes yet to just get by. So to be able to see the connections of things and the beauty of things, isn't life more beautiful, more fascinating? It takes the cake. I mean, really. And yet we have sort of shuffled ourselves away from the intricate, ongoing unfolding and beauty of life because we have had to survive in harsh conditions. So I'll say a couple of things now about the overculture, about, we'll start there. We'll start there. So just a note or a little reminder that we can be breathing now, even as we're listening. And we can listen with the ears throughout the body. We don't have to hyper focus in our mind. We can relax and listen. Right. The overculture is what I refer to as the predominant mainstream belief system. So the predominant mainstream belief system tends to have, well, it's complex and there are no blanket statements that will ever be truly accurate. So I apologize. I will make some blanket statements, and we know that we're just talking about the mainstream pop culture of our Western world. And we're doing so to get it out of the way. And so we can stop blaming ourselves for being limited in our creativity. We live in a world where such things are taking place. And some of those things that we'll mention are the predominance of late stage capitalistic thinking, the monetization of value of productivity, and the valuing of stuff and power and resource over human life, creativity, and discovery. That's happening in a big way in our predominant culture. Another thing happening in our predominant culture is patriarchy, right? So we have made receptivity, deep listening, sensitivity, the invisible arts of the unknown that are deeply feminine. We have made them, on a good day, just not valuable or not real. On a bad day, hunted, persecuted, wrong, murdered, sought out, discredited, made to feel insane. The deep divine feminine within us that is so richly creative, creating other human beings in the well of it, but not to limit the deeply wild feminine to females alone. Please let us not do that. The men and the women and everyone in the spectrum of genderedness has a divine feminine that has been made wrong. That means our listening, our compassion, our service work, all have been undervalued, under-resourced, underfunded within the self and in our world, making it hard to listen and hard to see. wholeness, period. So we've got colonialism, we have got capitalism, and we've got patriarchy. We've got synthetic versions of value systems and the age of information pumping more and more and more and more at us all the time. So our little systems within are like, what? Of course, we are lost in a maze and we will never, ever, ever catch up. Okay, that is not a fault. It is a dysfunction of our overculture. And we have been fed a diet of that for our life. Most of us have. So please understand that when we armor and guard our heart, that when we hold our breath, that when we don't create, that when we deny access to our own deeper experiences of our emotions, we are not wrong. It makes perfect sense. Of course, we are doing that. We've been told you're alone and you must compete to survive. Therefore, our other primary resource that's not breath, food, and water, which is other people, are our competition. We build trust, let them in. Yes, we do. Love prevails. But to some degree, we're in an environment where competing for resources and lack-based mentality is mainstream. No matter how much work we have done to liberate ourselves from these conditions, there are human beings still suffering, and it is a part of our collective consciousness that this exists. Please let us not only self-blame in response to these conditions. Going back to that center place, the place where we arrived. I'm so sorry. I love you. I love you. You are doing so good. To have a bully in the house is part of the symptomology of these conditions. So we'll say, do y'all remember the original like spooky movie, Halloween movie? And it was remade in one of the more recent Halloween spooky movies. But this is the scenario, right? A call comes in, scary things are going on, and somebody's breathing on the phone, and you realize the call is coming from inside the house. Okay, so our internalized ego dominant bulliness, tough love, get it together voice from our predominant culture is inside the house. Which means on the one hand, whew, we deal with a lot and it's very scary within. And on the other hand, we have agency, complete conductive agency to shift this balance. Yes, we do. So it's deeply empowering to acknowledge that these conditions exist, and it's deeply empowering to recognize that we have the capacity to shift the balance. We're talking about creativity today, and we have a lot of different pieces to the puzzle that first we'll talk about, and then we'll do some exercises. So thank you for breathing and hanging in there with me while we just lay out this context, because I feel like it's really important. So along with arriving, we'll just start at the beginning and stay at the beginning the whole time. Along with arriving, as we get deep into our presence in our body and we learn to practice returning and arriving in that sincere and full way more often, more of the time, it brings us into greater depth of our own inner world. If we are not present in the deeper body, we don't know how to arrive. Then we can create and live in kind of a superficial way. When we arrive fully into the body, making great space within to feel the energies of being, which are the divine feminine side of things, and the yin and the yang, right, that we're bringing back into our life like wildfire, then we are practicing the art of not self-abandoning. So I call the this whole beginning stage of cultivating presence in our arrival time The brave task of arriving, yes, it's brave. We have to walk away from our obsession to our thoughts. It is brave to arrive more fully. So the brave task of arriving and the ongoing tragedy of self-abandonment. When we participate in the externalized world and our thoughts as our primary places where our awareness is, the outside world and then our thoughts, we are distracted from our deeper dwelling, and we cannot tend to the deeper self. We feel deeply alone. We practice deep codependence, and it is hard to live our life creatively from the state of self-abandonment. But we're taught that, again, just to say, take it easy on yourself, please. You need this product, this course, that course, even this course today, which need a course and take another course and take another course. But the most valuable teacher we will ever have is already indwelling, already indwelling. So we are practicing the art of not self-abandoning, which is to bring our awareness back in the body. And this sparks a rich playground for our creativity to come to life. And it's free. And it's always there. Never, ever, ever has it left. Never has it departed us. Our innate creativity. And creativity being our topic today, has me going into, so there's two more segments we'll do before we go into two more segments of just context before we go into our first exercise. The first one is creativity and the divine. I've already laid out that we are infinite and finite, and that is the dance of the human being. There's the finite self, which is the energy of that which changes, the body that is born, that grows, develops, changes, and that will die. And that is the energy of that which changes. That is our finite self and our direct physical reality. The infinite self is that all of that which lies between. It is the unfathomable, it is the non-categorical, it is the indivisible wholeness that people report back from great moments of empowered wisdom or enlightenment or great, beautiful moments of wonder. They report back to us in the finite self. What do they say? They say two predominant things. They say, we are all one. We are all one. Holy cow. And they also say, it was there the whole time. So we can get the idea here that the infinite and the finite self are in this beautiful dance. And we as humans, no map was given to us, a pretty weird, faulty map from our culture, and not many other maps about like how to navigate this, right? So this is an interesting pickle that us human beings are in. Creativity is the dance between that infinite energy of that which is undifferentiated, traveling through us and becoming an expression. We are making meaning. This is creativity. We're making meaning. We're mending, we're healing, we're connecting with others. We're resonating deeply. When this happens, we care more about our neighbors. Just a result, just a symptom, I'm just saying. So that we become a healthful collective here on the planet. We remember our humanity. Our humanity lies in that we're all connected. If we forget about that, then our humanity in the singular cuts us off from our creative impetus, right? There's just a beautiful necessity that the infinite and the finite have awareness of each other as a lovership. So that means bringing our awareness into the infinite, into our breath, and then coming back into our life and our world and expressing what it is that we find. Okay. And then that's the infinite, the creativity and the divine. What is the relationship between creativity and the divine? It also means, by the way, that our creativity is not delegated to one sect of humankind who are the creatives and everybody else is not. It does truly mean that we are all deeply creative at our core, period. No exception. Great. One other thing to put on the table as far as context is that we have a neuro bond passed down that links creativity to instability and illness, mental illness, craziness, can't function well. Deeply creative people are poor, they're mad, they are unstable, right? They're unhealthy. So this is a let's go ahead and update around this, which many of us have done and are doing, and who are presenting creativity along with great health. So the overculture within and without has reasons that it's afraid of creativity. It is afraid of the deep mystery because it rocks the apple cart. So our ego within will say, you'll be a fool, you're not creative, you don't have time, you have to prove your value and survive. The ego will tell us all kinds of things that will limit our ability to be creative because it's scared. It's scared of, oh my God, what will change and shift and move if I let the reality of my creative life grow and bloom beyond where my mind can go, right? So we have an association between creativity and illness, and we even romanticize madness in a way. Oh, the creatives, I could not, that there's some type of unhingedness and made wrongness. But deep creativity, it's been sort of, it doesn't fit in the main, in the overculture, right? It doesn't work for the overculture's plan. This is not a conspiracy theory. It's just kind of how things have played out. So this idea that it's scary and wrong and bad is how we've made the mystery aspect of life wrong and bad in the overculture. The creativity is like Baba Yaga out in the deep woods, living in a shack that has chicken legs on it, and people that wander out into the woods and search for this creativity, that they will be eaten alive by Baba Yaga. And this transformation is scary. Creativity is enshrouded in a kind of fear and a mystic fear that unless we have some illumination in our own darker parts, getting to know that which has been enshrouded in darkness and made wrong, we know this and encounter this within the self to illuminate and illuminate, then we can become the lovers of the deep mystery, of the darkness of creativity, and not the persecutors of it, not the hunters of it, not the judgers of it. And we can weave it into our life, learning from her how to embrace and illuminate our own darkness. So that creativity is that we have to be mad or unwell or unstable to be creative is a bunch of bullshit. And also, it's really helpful for our creativity if we are rooted in, connected, and present, that our body's systems are fully resourced, and that we can give our all to the creative expressions that arise within us. Great. Okay. So you've hung in there with me nice and good for the 34 minutes of our introduction. I wanted to walk us into a resonance of how much it matters that we connect to our creativity. As human beings, the one main thing that we create with our time here on the planet is our life. That's the main thing that we create. The imprint of who we were and how we lived, lingering in the atmosphere long after we die. How much bravery did the opening of my heart allow connections and meaning to be made in unique and personal, beautiful ways. So what would we like to weave into our tapestry of the life that we're creating today? What would we like to weave in to the tapestry of the life that we are creating today? I'd like to invite all of us, myself included, to turn towards the breath, the great spirit of life that is, again, non-metaphorical, the direct energy that animates our body, non-metaphorical, the spirit of life, the direct energy of life entering the body, animating our body until the moment that we die. This connected force, this molecular reality that is the invisible medicine of our time. Turn towards the breath. Feel the inhale nice and full, nice and rich in your body. And exhale, relax and release the body. Inhale, take in everything that you need. And exhaling to release the body, keeping it simple. Inhale to fill the heart and activate the intelligence of the heart. And exhale to relax and release the body. Taking another few full, free, connected breaths, just like this, just intimately for you. Ah. Ah. Brave breaths. Allowing the inhale to be full is another brave task. Life not being something that always we want more of life. Sometimes we want to keep life out. Sometimes we want to keep it out because God damn, it's too much. So the brave task of taking a full breath, just allow your body to expand into that fullness just a little bit more. We are safe here in the presence of our own being to take a full breath into the body and let it go. The creative breath that we're working with has both the support and nourishment on the inhale, which we need deeply, and the freedom and release on the exhale, which we also need deeply. The support and the structured nourishment of our inhale, and the release and the relief of our exhale that liberates us back into our own agency. Again, just tapping into that wheel of breath. Hmm. Try not to hurry and try not to worry. Feel the body breathing. Always returning to the volume of your inhale. Sending a message now to any disenfranchised, left in the cold aspects of self that we have made wrong. Any aspect of self, please call them in to the center seat in your mind's eye. Any aspect of self that we have said, you're too much, you're not enough, go away, get gone, fix it, remove yourself, be away from me. You part of the self that doesn't have what you need to thrive are an inconvenience, get outside or to the back of the class, be gone. Continue to breathe. Any part of the self that we have treated this way, this is our creator, our teacher. Let them in, let them in. Give them the softest seat in the house and let them sit. Give them space just simply with your breath. Maybe imagining that every inhale is creating more space for them in the deep body. And ask them, as vulnerable as you might be or feel, will you guide us today? Will you guide me today in our exploration of our deep creativity? You might ask them, what do you need to say to me to feel seen and heard? And we can ask them another question. What do you need from me to feel safe in your creating? What do you need from me to feel safe and cherished in your creating? And just listen, tuning all the way in. And try not to worry too much about it or get too in your head about it. It's okay. Tweak a message till it feels just right, but try not to worry too much about it. We're asking that deep inner creative what they need in order to be a fully active presence in our life. And as you feel ready, taking a nice deep and clearing breath to come back. And coming back together. Or maybe rather than coming back or out, we can just expand our awareness to hold the whole group. And I'll invite you at this time, if it's possible for you, to have your video be on. And if not, that's okay. But consider that we're traveling here as a group. Great, great. And I love that Linda has a halo on her head. Perfect. So even in this short meditation that we've done, and I hope that you were able to give it some sincerity for yourself. This part of the self, I guarantee, is a crucial part of our next chapter of creativity. So I'm interested to hear from any of you about what was a message that your deep inner creative had for you. Maybe it surprised you or it just felt particularly interesting or profound. Ah, yes, we hear you. The connection is unstable, so no video for you. That's just fine. We'll imagine you. Oh God, permission to fail. Yeah, yeah. I want to pause at that one, Nicole, because holy shit, is it really a big deal? Permission to fail. When the creative within us is so loved and cherished, it's not worried about being abandoned because it's failed. Falling on our face and being like, that was a dumpster fire, that thing that I tried that didn't work. And we can learn from it if we're in the companionship of our higher self. Higher self is our companion. It says, oh my God, that was so hard. I bet our ego took a total tumble. Wow, what did we learn? And allow the energy to keep moving. But when higher self is nowhere to be found and we're stuck in the ego all by ourselves, the ego taking a beating feels like life or death, and we are not allowed to fail. Shaking that off, shaking that off. I love this, Nicole. We are allowed to fall, to trip, to mess up, to discover, and to do so in the witnessing presence of others so that we know we are human. And the greatest gift of all is remembering our humanity, because then we are absolutely, without question, not alone. We cannot be abandoned and left to die. That's the ultimate fear. Don't express, don't color outside the lines. We'll be abandoned. We'll be judged, and then we won't belong, and then we'll die. Being allowed to fail is the same thing in a way as being belonging innately, just completely belonging, no risk of not being able to belong. So Linda, I'd like to hear from you, and then we will read some of our messages.
Okay, I just had a hard time trying to articulate writing it. So what I heard was, it's as if I do have a thing with time. So it's interesting that it came up, because I wouldn't have thought that. I'm so glad for the breathing through this. Oh, if I was more of a priority somehow, that when everything is done, then I can relax, and then I can come out. I mean, if I'm speaking as I'm creativity, it's like yeah, I can expand into time and be relaxed and can be joyful, but I have to do all the other things first. And so I know I've relegated it to, except if it has something to do with movement or breath, I make time. But if I like painting or something like that, it's like, I don't really have time. So I don't know if that's what came up.
So let me ask you this, Linda, from the perspective of the one that's not made time for, the creative within you, the creative, that deep creative, that's like, what, I get the scraps of what's left over? Like,
Yeah. Oh boy, that really brought tears to my eyes. Yeah.
yeah. So let me ask, what do they say to you that,
Wow.
yeah. What do they say to you that they would like, that they would need from you?
Well, I don't want to get all in my head, so I don't know right now. Like, what do they need?
Maybe a big deep breath first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what I have been telling myself, right, is I'm questioning everything lately, so it's really great. But oh, I need more, quote, physical support, like somebody around to help me. And I'm like, that's all good and fine and could be helpful. But when you said it, like, what is it really saying? It's like I'm somehow creating angst that maybe isn't even there. So I'm curious, like, where did this begin? Like, it's been a long time since, like, I'm fine. Like, and I actually believe that. And but as some sort of anxiousness gets in the way, and then so what the creativity is like, oh, I would like to have less, obviously not the scraps, but also some sort of relaxedness in general, not just, I mean, yes, I can breathe like we just did, and you can and be there, and as soon as I'm done, I I still don't do it. Yeah, I don't know. I think I got confused.
So I'm glad it was perfectly clear, Linda. Thank you for volunteering to work in your process out loud in the group. I really appreciate it. So this sense of that the creative one gets the scraps, and that they're kind of eating garbage off the side of the road. The creative one is getting whatever it can get because we don't make time for it, or we think that we can do it only when everything else is done. And I'm just going to put on our radar a little bit the urgency, the significance, and the importance of inviting the vast creative energies of being, the state of being, into our life and into our world. Because our world is suffering from overdoing and not being in a connected state. And so this is essential. It's essential. Without being alarmist, I'm going to say it needs a seat at the table. It can no longer be under the table eating scraps. Please make me a seat at the table and I will dine among you. Our creative one within gets a seat at the table. I will dine with you and I will deserve to be there. And I will be a great teacher for all of the parts of you that are exhausted from overdoing and the parts of your soul that are starving for the invisible connectivity, the nourishment of humanity that comes from the connected state of not doing, but of being. Again, we know this stuff, but we're just plunking it on the map again to reaffirm it for us. And so we'll look at give more space again for creativity, because the space is where you feel the most alive. And our aliveness is what's at hand. Are we partially living? Here's the idea, is that we don't want to get to the end of our life with a novel and a song and a community like buried within us, and that we've lived our life feeling alone or feeling disconnected from that. Let's do our best in a way to not get so far along that our life is not being lived. So that's a really beautiful one there, Michelle. I need time and space to create. I tend to prioritize productivity. Karen, girl, heard you. And also I'm going to do something here to pause on this moment. It is absolutely, and please, I am absolutely not saying anything about anyone's life that it is or isn't busy. I'm just not saying that. Your life might be busy, it might not be busy. I have no way to know. I don't know. But what I will say is that when we say, I don't have time for my creativity, something else is going on. When we say, I don't have time to check in with my deeper self, it's actually something else that's happening. Not having time isn't really the issue. And I'll tell you why. Nicole Blair and I did a little bit of work around this yesterday. Thanks, girl. The 1 minute meditation, even the one breath meditation. I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time. There's the message, right? But what is really happening? So sincerely, as best and as humbly and as holy as we can, drawing our breath into our body. Less than 1 minute, I've come all the way home. I feel the essence of my emotional body. I'm saying, yes, you can be there. It is okay. We are present. We're aligned. Less than a minute of time to go deep. And to kind of remember who we are. I mean, it sounds cheesy. It's all get out, remembering who we are in a brief time. So I would argue the thing that is to be argued, which is to say, we don't have time not to do it. We don't have time not to do it. And it can be 1 minute. I don't care. I love 1 minute. I love 1 minute because it's in the present moment. And our sincerity and our willingness and our breath are the only ingredients that we need. We don't even need 5 minutes. But if we return to this regularly, we're building it into our life so that we're including the depth of us in the majority of our lifetime spent. The other thing I'll say is that one of the most powerful meditations that came into my mind in a time of great pain and stress and worry about like time and how things are all going to go, when I really got scared at a certain time in my life, I got a strong message from my breath that said, You must stop now. It is a matter of urgency. You must stop now, please. It trusted this voice, and then it went on to say, it is not too late to be soft and fully present. And it's not too soon. It's not too soon. You don't have to wait. Please don't wait. Please don't wait. Please let the time for this to be right now. So I was appreciative of that. Thank you to the inner child that provided. Usually it's the inner child that has the wisest things to say. The world and time are the dance of the Lord in emptiness. Thomas Merton. Ugh. Yeah, Stephen. Yeah. Hi, by the way. Hi. Yeah, the deep inner creative speaks in limerick and poetry and in languages other than words, for sure. My creativity seems to be happy with our present relationship and encouraging me. Go, girl. Yeah, Bridget. Yes, we can be inspired by Bridget's beautiful and healthy relationship to her creativity. Robin, my highest creative moments are unexpected and spontaneous, both in creative expression and in my relationships. When I'm not relaxed, the more I try, the less creative power I have. Oh, yeah. When we tense up around the thing, the less capacity we have to be in flow, right? Which is so beautiful, so beautiful. So we're gonna thank you everybody for your contributions, and I want to shift us into another radical exercise segment. So please hang in there with me, because remember, trying things on a little bit outside of our comfort zone are part of our creative kinesthetics, part of our cardio, part of our getting a little bit freed up in the body of our creativity. So this exercise is like a freestyle write, like a free write, but we're going to do it vocally. You'll be on mute, so you can know that this is an intimate practice for you and yourself. It is a vocal exercise in improvisational singing. All right, so this is something to get us out of, it's the introduction of something a little non-ordinary. Now, maybe you do this all the time, but I don't know many people who do. So try it on, and it can be a little bit freaky. It was certainly a little frightening for me when I began being a little vulnerable. I'll give you an example of what I mean by a freestyle singing meditation. Okay, so you all lucky ducks will have your thing muted. I won't. So I'll show you what I mean. Completely not planned out. Bring your awareness down into the body. You don't have to be a singer of any kind, and how it sounds won't really matter. But allowing a melody to come and saying what words rise and fall. It will take some time for this process to flow. So be gracious and follow your words. Just allow what wants to rise. You can even say, I hate this. It's okay, just stay with yourself in good company. We are in good company. We can do foolish things. We can see what might be lying under the surface. And once we run out of things to say, something we might not expect to come will come. So surprise ourselves. It's just a unique little type of meditation that we'll do for, let's give ourselves a good 3 minutes, which is an eternity in singing meditation land. But I want to give us a chance to slow down. It's okay. Slow down. It's okay. Try not to worry. This is just an exercise that we're exploring in this, in this relationship with our deeper creative. So the introduction of the non-ordinary good for the creative. A little bit outside the comfort zone, good for the creative. Coming from the heart, very important. So just allow yourself to settle into, maybe begin with some humming, and then launch. So I'm going to go ahead and mute myself so I'm not tempted to interrupt your process with all my good ideas. And I'm giving us 3 minutes. So go ahead and begin. Go just try it out, maybe one word at a time. See what happens for you. Ah. And gently bringing your songscape to a close. Thank yourself, thank the deep inner creative. And now I want to kind of break whatever's happening in the fourth wall, where when I open us up for sharing, go for it. It's again, it's for the impact of our time together. Let's go ahead and share our experiences. So if anyone has either an insight that they got from just this little exercise or a part of your song, I'm going to open it up for you to jump in and share either an insight. What's your relationship to it? And it's perfectly okay for it to be, yeah, not good for, not okay, didn't feel good, or what I, or or safe or interesting for me at all. That's totally fine. But yeah, let's open it up to hear from you. Bridget, yes.
Yeah, well, what a surprise! Because I don't improvise. I don't sing like this, and I really liked it, and I really liked the way I sang and what I sang. And I thought, no, I've got to get some deeper matter. No, let's me just play around making in French. It had to be in French. It was delicious. Thank you.
That's so beautiful. I love that, Brigitte. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to share.
Yeah, Stephen.
Yeah, I loved it as well. I didn't think I would, and it took on many different directions, but all seemed to all seemed to bring up where I'm at the moment in terms of creating my own workshops and stuff, and this fear of and this worry of what people think. I had a revelation recently, and my song was very much based on that revelation. And that was that the work that I still need to do is very much with the ego in terms of caring, like caring what people think, as opposed to, and it's preventing me from being fully creative because there's a fear of what people think. So my song was about that. My song was a recognition that that's what's holding my creativeness back, is this holding on to not much, but still an element of fear of what people think.
Yeah. Yeah, and so beautiful, Stephen. And there's a beautiful nuance to this too. Caring what people think when we have our higher self on board in a unity that's not an abusive relationship between the ego and the creative, but that's a beautiful relationship. Caring what people think is about wanting resonance and wanting resonance and connection. When our ego is at odds with our creative and we have a partnership within that is dismissive, neglectful, and abusive, caring what people think means you're going to fail. You can't, it's another way that we can inflict limitation on the self. So it's perfectly wonderful to care what people think in terms of resonance and connection and what this, can we all help each other to thrive? But when we care what people think, because we're using it as a way to be self-critical, then that's really, really dismissive and hard. But there is a nuance there. It's okay to care what people think. And also, let's let the wilderness of who we are out to play. Let's let the breath loose in the body and let it shake some things up, and do so in a way that's heart-centered and that is just less afraid. And we build our capacity to be less afraid when we have more presence within the self that's kinder and more joyful. So, and then it helps, Stephen, that you've got us breathwork community who just loves to adventure around. So go ahead and sign me up for your workshop whenever it might be.
Thank you. It's part of the transformation period, and it's very much a measurement of the work that still remains. Do you get me in that? In terms of the ego going, yes. So that it's an awareness that I still have a ways to go. I'll leave it at that, though.
Thank you, Stephen. I really appreciate that. Other songs.
Can I say something?
Please.
Okay, so it started off sort of as stand-up comedy vocalizations, reaching into some parts of my mind which are totally crazy but laughable. But then it went into a sort of thing, I am within me and all around me, above me, and it got into a more central thing. The feeling is that what happens is in ordinary life, I mean, deep inside me, I know this creativity, but in everyday life, it's very easy just to forget it. And so the singing brought me back into that. That's what happened. It brought me back into that deep, creative, loving space, because it's loving everything that is happening within me and without me. And so thank you for that.
Thank you, Robin. I am deeply curious about your vocal comedy improv part of your song.
Yeah. I mean, it is a bit like that, you know. Life is a bit like stand-up comedy at times, I think, you know, because of the thoughts which go through my mind at times are just suitable for, well, I mean, a lot of life we experience on the outside is stand-up comedy, basically. It's, how can you take it seriously? It's not really
Yes.
reaching deep enough, but no more of that. But I think you know what I mean.
Well, what you're saying, Robin, is an incarnation of something that I was getting at earlier, but that you just said really well, which is that when we are locked in the finite world, without this greater observation and witnessing of the infinite capacity, we miss the humor completely. We take everything so seriously. This is this, and this cause and effect reality. We don't see the game or the play or the illusion of it. But when we invite that the greater sense of our infinite presence, our dwelling being state that we're working on getting a little more presence of, when we have that piece too, we can see life more as the comic cosmic tragedy and comedy. We see the game of it. We see the bigger picture of it, and it's not quite so dire. And that in that way, our humor, we can have a little more levity in how we're interacting in the world, and we understand that a lot of what we engage with on the daily is illusion, and what really matters is buried a little deeper than that sometimes. Thanks, Robin.
I'll share. I too thought, oh, I don't know if I'm going to like this. I have overcome the idea that I have a bad voice. That was, some teachers told me that when I was a kid. And I have really, gotten past that. And so it wasn't the voice, but I thought, what am I going to say? So I just looked at these gorgeous flowers next to me and that are orange. And I don't think I thought about anything else other than I love orange, and the tune, whatever, it wasn't a great tune, didn't matter. I love flowers. And then it was, I love me. And I was like, oh, that's nice. And then it was like, flowers are bright, the sun is bright, the sky is bright, obviously sitting outside in a lot of brightness right now. And then it came out, and I am bright. And so that those words were all one. Sometimes they're only words, even though I know it. But I think I felt like I had a feeling of it. Yeah, I'm bright too. We're just all bright right now here, right here, right now. I was really, I thought, wow, I got to do this more often. And it reminded me of when I was a child and I sang all the time like this. I just sang away. And my brothers would say, make her stop, make her stop. And my mom would say, yeah. So I already knew two people didn't like, well, I thought, they were my younger brothers, so whatever, but I didn't know that. I'm thinking, oh, I have a horrible voice, but I didn't care. I kept singing. And my mother would say, she can sing if she wants to. And so I did always feel very free. And then I was 12 and a teacher said I had a terrible voice. And I never sang again until I had my children. And that was, a long time later. So at 38, I went, oh, I've got to sing to it's my first one, I've got to sing because I know it's good for them. But I wasn't really singing for the joy the way it was when I was a child, because I was afraid my voice was gonna, disrupt them emotionally or something. I mean, I really took it crazy. One person saying they thought I didn't have a good voice. And then so doing this today was like, that's what I did. I intuitively, instinctively was in that state, which they say children are. And I was in that state of oneness by singing. So it just really touched me that, yeah, maybe that's a quote, better way. I mean, sure, I breathe and meditate. All these things are good and dance. But, maybe this might be something that is going to open up new pathways, because it's an area that's was kind of traumatically, cut off.
Yeah. Time to make up for some lost time there, Linda. It's singing. This is a singing change coming up. That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. And it looks like I know Jean or Jean had something to say. Maybe not anymore. And Blanca Maria, hi Blanca Maria. How long does it take to understand that maybe one does not hit certain notes, and that's what people call a bad voice? Anything else to say about that, Blanca Maria?
Yes,
Michelle? Hi, honey. Oh no, it looks like you have frozen.
Hi, may I say something?
Yeah, please. Looks like Michelle has frozen. We'd love to hear from you, Blanca Maria.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I am in Switzerland. What a great joy and great happiness to be here with all of you. Kate, wonderful. Robin, also. Great teachers here in this panel. Actually, I'm one of those people that as a kid, they said that I had a bad voice. But actually, I mean, I became a sound healer. Maybe that's part of it, right? To prove that I did not have a bad voice. And through the years, I mean, I have experienced miraculous healings utilizing these methods. So it cannot be a bad voice, right? And the other day, somebody told me, yeah, on your radio programs, you sound sometimes like you're only 16. I said, oh, that's great, amazing, that's great. So I tend I try to go for agelessness in the way I am, and the voice just sort of follows it. And I also want to say, I love this idea of if you allow the presence of higher self to be present, then fear goes away. Or maybe there is not enough space for both higher presence and fear. That could be.
Yeah, that's a beautiful insight. And I love hearing the sound of your voice. I've missed the sound of your voice.
Okay, I miss you guys. One thing that I want to add, I don't know if any other people here right now, but I feel so vulnerable since about a week. I tend to cry a lot. Just, the beauty of a flower or little babies or the gorgeous doggies on on the reels. so delicate. I feel that I have to really take very good care of myself. It's like I have given so much and I don't want to die. I don't want to I still have so much to give. I think it goes a little bit along those lines, you know, but I am exhausted. It's just like I have been giving and giving and giving during many, many years. So yeah, I have to get back to my voice exercises.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kate, for being here. Love you
Thank you.
very much. You know that. And thank
Yeah.
you, Robin, too.
So I'm hearing the wheel has become unbalanced.
Okay.
I'm hearing it's time for your voice and your rest and your replenishment to be a great priority.
Yeah.
And for you to receive, to bask in the energy that you are, and less doing, more being. Yeah. So Michelle, do we have you back with us? Go ahead and unmute. So we can hear you. There we go.
Normally, yes.
Yeah.
Hello, dear Kate. Thank you for the introduction. It was very nice to listen to you. Very touching. Regarding the exercise, for me, I'm a very creative person and I create lots of things. The problem for me and what came in the exercise is go back to creativity, because it's really when you are in your best, you live your best life when you're in creative. But I don't create small things. So every time when I create something, it takes me lots of time to develop it, manage it, and take care of it, like my children's or my home, and now my happiness. And so it's difficult to stay in this creative part that I really love, because there are so many things that requires my time. When it's created, that I have to stop create to have time to manage, to good manage what I have created. So voilà, I would like to go back to just this part of creativity, but there is only 24 hours a day, and I have to sleep sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a real juggle and a real balance. And we can bring more timelessness and, as Blanca Maria suggested, agelessness into our finite reality. We can expand the quality of our time by being more present in the moment of what we are doing. We can do small, little, tiny, bitty, minute creative projects with just the one breath and choosing to see something that's bathed in sunlight rather than just not seeing it. In the meals that we cook, is my thought creative or is it uncreative feeling? So we can integrate creativity into everything that we're already doing. And then it's a real optimization, So just from a logistical standpoint, which I don't tend to dwell in, but we'll go ahead and do it here. It's very practical. It's very practical to be creative in the moments of our life, because it helps us navigate from a fuller deck with greater possibilities and expand our sense of our time. And it can be really helpful.
Yes, and this part needs a lot of energy. But when you say cooking, I never follow a recipe. I always create. But when you always create, you are never in a routine, and routine allows you to have energy back, because you don't have to think about things. And I don't like routine, so I create a lot. But it takes a lot of energy, because it's a prefrontal cortex working instead of the automatical brain. So okay, I try to balance it more.
I'm going to give you some interesting homework, which is to we can talk about this later. It'll be fun too. I'll do it too, which is to create some dynamic routine for the next couple of weeks, which is a routine, something that you do every day, so that it doesn't require, as you've said, the high expense of doing a brand new thing. It could be something that you do every day that is dynamic. So maybe non-ordinary or some other such thing, but routine is deeply soothing, right? Just like our breath, which our breath is an example of all of life, right? We have our autonomic breathing, which happens naturally, and we have our voluntary breathing, which is the creativity part. We decide how the breath goes, how we're doing the breath, how we're using the breath. So those two things, if our autonomic breathing could be closer to a full and free breath, and if our voluntary breathing could be more relaxed, this is a balancing out of we want to encourage our fundamental life structures to be dynamic so that our routine feels alive, not dead and numb, but that our routine feels alive and supportive, and that the new things that we do feel supported by the collective strength of our routine. So it's just a dynamic way of looking at that thing. But yeah. Anybody else?
Can I say something more?
Please.
I find that when I'm cooking, that's a good taste, dynamic, because sometimes I don't have the right ingredients, and sometimes I get frustrated, and other times I invent something incredible just out of nothing. So it's an activity which is requires a lot of focus, but it's a creative activity, cooking something. And that's a routine, which I see whether I'm really in the flow or not. And I'm not in the flow, no one can eat anything I cook. When I am in the flow, everybody loves it. There you go. And one other thing I would like to add is that everybody has a voice. There's no good or bad voices. Everybody has a voice. One of the things I've been doing over the past few years is finding your voice. Even if you don't have a voice, even if you can't speak, you still have a voice. That's what I would like to say. So when they say you got a bad voice or a good voice, it doesn't really matter. As long as you have a voice, that's the main thing, and that you use it to express yourself. That's what I've been trying to do all my life. Sometimes people don't listen, but I listen, and listen to your own voice, and love it.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, when we are fascinated by our own creative expressions, that fascination can be a contagion. So people are like, oh, what is happening over there? But when we ourselves become uninterested in our own expressions, something less alive is happening, and then the field of energy that it generates becomes less. So we actually, when we're practicing cultivating presence, we're cultivating fascination as well. And so Michelle looks like great. It's wonderful to see you, Michelle. Have a great meal and see you soon. And happy birthday the other day. Great.
What was the word that you just said? My battery's a little low, but cultivating, what was that you just said?
Fascination.
Fascination. And when you were saying about, the homework, because I like that idea of when you're doing your volunteering breathing, how it could even be done in a more relaxed way. And then, what did you say about when we're in our involuntary, if that's the word, just noticing it more? I just kind of missed that.
Yeah, our autonomic breathing is on a setting that's been developed over time based on the degree to which we keep life out. And so the reason I say that, the degree to which we're breathing is the degree to which we're living. And the reason that I say that is because I'm going to say our primary, but basically our only emotional regulation tool that's direct in the body is our breath. So when we are overwhelmed and we want to keep the energy of life out, we will hold our breath. We have developed a lifelong pattern of limiting what we take in by holding our breath and breathing in a way that is shallow. So our mechanism for breathing, and a lot of you already know this as breath workers, has been developed. So our autonomic breathing is relatively shallow.
Right.
We also have reasons for or mistrust in the energy of life. So ask anybody on a day that's particularly hard, is life something that you want more of? Maybe not. So it's kind of about learning to heal our relationship with the nature of life itself, which is the nature of change. So when we can start to trust in the energy and life a little bit more deeply, then our breath will naturally begin to be more. But we retrain our autonomic breathing by voluntary breathing in a full and free way. And so usually after a number of days, weeks, months, years of voluntarily breathing in the conscious connected way, our involuntary breathing, what we're doing most of the time, will begin to catch up and be more expansive. Yeah. Thanks for the question.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you.
So we could talk, let me rephrase that. I could talk on and on all day about all of these things, but I do want us to, I know we've been sitting and engaging for an hour and a half now. I want to give us, let's lay out the rest of our time. Give us a little bit of a bio break, meaning if we need to use the bathroom, get a glass of water, take care of ourselves physically. We'll come, and then when we come back, I'm going to say 5 minutes break, and I hope that's enough for you. And when we come back, we'll do a brief physical warm up, and then we will be going into a 25-minute breathwork cycle. So please arrange anything that you need to be comfortable for when we return during this time of our break. It's right now. It's 12:33. If you're questioning whether or not to stay on for the breathing, take a pause and say yes. um, no, but I encourage us to stay in there because we will go another couple levels deeper. And it's really valuable stuff. And we've already created this beautiful container together. So please go ahead and take care of your bio needs, get yourself situated so you can breathe comfortably when you return and come back with us. We'll say at 40 minutes past the hour. So I don't know where you are, what time it is where you live, but at 40 minutes past the hour, we'll come back. Great.